Hello, I'm Stacy Keach. Join me right now as we travel to the jungles of Mexico in search of the ancient Maya.
It is a land of mysterious ruins, of pyramids and palaces, of warriors and gods. Here we find great cities built of stone as if to last forever. Built by the ancient Maya, a people who lived here over 1,000 years ago. What were their lives like, and why did they abandon their cities? To investigate, we travel to Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, heartland of the Maya.
In 1839, John Lloyd Stevens, a writer, and Frederick Catherwood, an illustrator, set sail for the jungles of Central America. Their goal? To confirm the existence of ancient pyramids in the area. As Stevens and Catherwood made their way through the jungles of the Yucatan, they were amazed to discover a variety of ruin sites and ancient pyramids. They wrote about and sketched everything they saw, and in the process nearly died of malaria. Miraculously, they made it back to New York, where they published one of the great bestsellers of the 19th century, Incidents of Travel in Central America. Its publication in 1843 set off an American obsession with Mayan culture, an obsession which draws us in even today.
Like the early explorers, you look out over the jungle, and on the horizon, you catch a glimpse of this. The Pyramid of the Magician at Uxmal, one of many remarkable stone structures scattered throughout the Yucatan. These are the cities of the Maya. They have names like Labna, Tulum, Chichen Itza, Kabah, and Uxmal. As we journey through these cities today, we begin to unravel the ancient mysteries of the Maya, who they were, how they worshipped, and why they built and abandoned these magnificent stone cities. The Mayan civilization was centered in the Yucatan Peninsula, the eastern hook of land that defines the southern Gulf of Mexico. We begin our journey approximately 180 miles west of Cancun at Uxmal, one of the most important Mayan sites. Between 600 and 1000 AD, the Mayans set to work creating this beautiful city. The buildings reflect the distinctive Puuc style, named for the hills of the region. The style is noted for highly ornate exteriors. The facades are decorated with a maze of geometric forms, human figures, serpents, masks of the rain god Chak. What clues do these buildings reveal about the Maya? Arlen Chase of the University of Central Florida is a leading Maya expert.
The architecture at Uxmal is absolutely spectacular. It is of a kind of architecture that's referred to as Puuc architecture by Maya specialists. It is very elaborate veneer work that shows up quite clearly on all of the buildings. So it is more than just of interest to specialists, because the site itself and the buildings that were constructed there are truly monumental architecture. They're things of beauty. They exude a past culture that is now lost and a kind of architecture that no one else builds to this day.
Over the centuries, the Maya erected imposing pyramids, temples, and roads that cut through the heart of the Yucatan jungle. With an empire of more than 100 city-states, Mayan culture flourished for a millennium. But what was life like here? Arlen Chase looks at Uxmal and draws parallels to the way a modern city is laid out.
The architecture that we see at Uxmal is similar to the architecture that one would find in a downtown city. These are public buildings. They are meant to provide venues for administration and specific rituals and ceremonies. They probably serve as courts of law. These are clearly very important buildings.
Myth also plays a part in the history of Uxmal, especially with the most enigmatic building in the city, the Temple of the Magician. It is the only such oval-shaped pyramid found in the Mayan world. Local legend tells of a mythic builder of the pyramid, a legend Mayan guide Antonio Mai often recounts to new generations of visitors.
I
will tell you who built this big building. It was built by a very old woman who was a witch. And one night, when she was alone, she found a turtle egg. She secretly buried it in the earth. Finally, a few days later, a boy hatched from the egg. It was a dwarf. Using magic, he constructed this building in just one night.
While this legend is intriguing and colorful, so is the truth. We now know it took over 300 years to complete the Pyramid of the Magician. This magnificent building also illustrates the Mayan practice of erecting new structures on top of old ones. In this case, there are 5 superimposed structures. Presumably, this allowed the Maya to continue utilizing what they considered sacred ground. The pyramid is decorated with intricate carvings, some say reflecting the rain god Chak. Images of this long-nosed god appear throughout the Maya world. We can imagine they worship Chak, hoping to bring rain to this arid region. Adjacent to the magician's pyramid, we discover other buildings which may have been linked to religion. This is the quadrangle of the nunnery. A complex of 4 one-story poop palaces, the massive stonework is offset by delicate carvings. What was the function of this complex? One theory claims it was a residence for young women awaiting sacrifice to the rain god. Others suggest that it served as a sort of city hall. Most agree the inner court was the setting for elaborate ceremonies. Perhaps the most compelling link to Uxmal's religious life unfolds just adjacent to the nunnery. This is the ball court. Here the Maya played a game called Pakatak. The object was to knock a rubber ball through a stone ring jutting from a wall.
The ball game in Maya society was a place where you could symbolically play out warfare involving life and death.
Some say it wasn't so symbolic. They say the losers were often sacrificed to the gods.
The Maya were not a peaceful people. In our search to find a society that we could emulate in the 20s and the 30s, we put the Maya on a pedestal and we extolled them as being these thinkers and philosophers who didn't carry out war. We ignored evidence that was extant even then that the Maya were a very warlike people. We now know from the archaeological record, from the Mayas writing themselves, and from Maya art, that the Maya were extremely brutal and that they carried out warfare extensively.
Certainly evidence of violence exists in Mayan culture. But we also see signs that the Maya were a sophisticated people and that they possessed many secrets we are only beginning to decipher.
Stay with us as we continue our investigation into the secrets of the Maya.
Here's a mysterious places travel tip. The Yucatan city of Mérida is the best base from which to investigate the Maya. Here, organized tours of Uxmal and other ancient sites are readily available. For the independent traveler, Uxmal can be reached by Highway 261 from Mérida. The trip is about 50 miles.
We're back in the jungles of Mexico with the secrets of the Maya.
Uxmal's Palace of the Governor, perhaps the finest example of Mayan architecture. It stands on 3 elevated terraces, the first almost twice the size of a football field. Here, Puch's style reached its zenith. Some 20,000 pieces of cut stone decorate the intricate mosaic frieze of the enormous facade. Reflected in this masterpiece, we see both the brilliance and mystery of the Maya. Victor Segovia is a researcher with the Institut Nacional.
The American architect Frank Lloyd Wright, he said that this is the most beautiful building produced in the American continent to the present day.
Some say the governor's palace was the residence of the local ruler, hence its name. Others believe priests dedicated to the cult of Venus lived here. New evidence may suggest another theory, and today Segovia explores the palace's precise alignment with the sun and moon.
My theory is that it's a building dedicated to the sun, and we have the most important alignments with the winter and summer solstice. So this facade north and the south facade, it's in alignment with the winter solstice when the sun rises, and in the summer solstice when the sun sets.
Here, Segovia says, chieftains and priests charted the planets. They then calculated and decreed harvest time and times of worship. But some disagree with the notion of the Maya as astronomer priests.
Obviously, astronomy and the positions of stars and solstices and equinoxes was of importance to the Maya, if only for their farming cycle. They needed to know when to plant and when not to plant. But Uxmal as a whole represents a city that has gone far beyond the simplistic ideas of astronomer priests that we once thought about in terms of Maya civilization. The buildings of Uxmal can be correlated with some of these features, but in my mind, those are simply coincidences.
While the research at Uxmal is ongoing, some of the smaller sites in the area are providing their own insights into the mystery of the Maya. Traveling just 12 miles south of Uxmal, we come upon Caba, the second largest city in the Puch Hills. Here, newly excavated fallen idols add fresh intrigue to our study. Mayan guide Victor Gonzalez.
The reason we came up here is just to see one of the most important discoveries, one of the new discoveries we have in Caba, the famous 7 kings of Caba. They were probably priests. Nobody knows the names of them, but the important thing is the Mayan profile, the Mayan heads. That's important because one of the customs of the Mayas when they were babies, they flat their foreheads.
Indeed, these sculptures depict the Maya concept of beauty, sloping brows and hooked noses. Such features